All right, now we'll talk about two of the one plan, the 4-day mountain bike ride. Uh, I'm sorry, you know it's late in the day. We're going to talk about instead something I'm calling the AI agent Sentinel. There's a fair bit of concern, which I'm sure you've heard today, and in fact, a couple of the speakers touched upon this earlier today, about the potential for your AI agents um, to do things that are not aligned with their mission, and to essentially violate your security posture, right? So the ideas on how to prevent that, how to prevent an AI agent from going rogue, are somewhat, I would say, obvious. But let me talk about at least two aspects of that. Right? The thing to understand, which I think, pretty much the entire day has been this conversation, which is that you now have essentially a system with agents, which is to say the ability to act in the world, right? And you've delegated some authority to it. But that's sort of like the state of the art is that it's sort of like using a 14-year-old driving lessons. And if you've been in one of those cars that are used by driving instructors, you know that the instructor has his own set of clutch and brake pedals. So we're going to need that for a little while, right? So the way we would prevent these agents from going rogue is essentially a four-step process. There is a fair bit, some of the speakers, I forget the name of the gentleman in the breakout room too, he talked about how there's training being done on these frontier models to make sure that they can be informed about a mission, which is to say, what are they supposed to be doing? You can give them a persona. You can say you're a senior software developer, or you're a customer support agent, or you're a triage nurse in an ER, etc. Right? So that kind of training, and then the ability to ensure that the agent is in fact sticking to that persona and being true to the mission is typically reinforced. So there's reinforcement learning, something called generative adversarial networks, right? GAN training, right? Which is to say, there is a model that attacks the model, validates the output of the main model, right? So that's one area where there's a huge amount of work going on. Now, the Sentinel idea, by the way, the word Sentinel, I did not think about the fact that Microsoft has a whole series of products with that brand identity. I was using the word Sentinel in the sense of a guard, which basically acts for protecting the system from potentially a rogue agent. So the idea is you would isolate this agent. You would isolate the agent, which is, let's say, the frontier model. The main thing, the reasoning, the decision making about the input. You would isolate it potentially into a container, a VPC or something, and not have it be able to do directly anything. All input that goes to it is verified for appropriateness to the mission, and all output from it is verified for alignment with the security posture, right? So there is isolation, which separates this agent and does not allow it to directly access the trusted computing base or let's say the secrets or anything like that. And then there is verification of both the output and the input, right? And then finally, the actual execution and the ability of the agent to do what it needs to do has to be constrained to the principles of least privilege. This is something we've been doing for a long time now. Right? So if you mentally model this as a extremely hardworking, high energy, creative intern who's tireless and able to do enormous amounts of work, you probably will have the right mental model for how to think about an AI agent. So input validation. So the idea is that the user request, which can be either a natural language or it can be any API call or whatever, that is assessed by something like a model. So you have a frontier model, which is the large complex thing, which is doing the deep reasoning, which has a persona and it's been given a mission. And then you have a smaller, lighter model, which is fast, which is simply assessing to see if the request is aligned with the mission of the system. Right? The example I use here is if let's say you have a chat agent for a banking facility, right? And if somebody says, what is the highest speed of an ungated swallow, the agent can say, sorry, I don't do physics. I do money management. Right? So this validation of the input to see if it is aligned with what the mission of the agent is. That's one important step. And this thing is actually quite trivial to do. I think most people, at least in the smaller companies that I've lately dealt with, tended to go directly to an LLM and use it sort of bare. And that's a little dangerous. There's no reason why you can't insert another step in the loop and basically have something validate the input to a defined mission. Right? And these things are now, because in fact, a lot of the work is being done by LLMs themselves, have become very easy. Right? So the mission filter, which is, are the requests drift from the purpose, or are they aligned with the purpose? Is the request shaped in a way which is trying to subvert the security alignment of the agent, right? In fact, is it some sort of a prompt injection? And then the identity of the user, is the requester authorized to make the request? So this is simply the basic access management. I think maybe 2 years before, somebody said that there was a question about, is this just another model evaluating all of that? In many cases, it's sort of like a layer cake. The best architecture that I've seen actually has a combination of a lightweight model and some heuristics that evaluate both the input and the output. Right? And that's the great way to go. So it's a few more moving parts, but it allows you to have very purpose-specific controls. So the mission filter is there, and only then the input goes to the agent, right? And then the agent is told to recognize which of the requests are aligned with the mission versus not. On the output side, the agent is sort of split into this dual personality. The primary agent, the frontier model, is in fact the reasoning engine and sort of doing the planning and the proposal of a response. The agent doesn't actually get to do the work. So the agent says, let's say, move money from the online hot wallet to the offline cold wallet, move, $500 million, something like that. So the agent is trying to balance currencies and in a cryptocurrency environment, that is actually a thing that happens quite routinely, right? So that's what the agent is trying to do that, right? The agent only gets to propose that. Something else, another part, a lightweight Sentinel model, that's the Sentinel idea, says, is this what we do? What is the source and the destination wallet? So the mission of the Sentinel is somewhat more bounded. The Sentinel has the context and the directions on what's acceptable, what's not. And it's a lightweight, fast model, which can very quickly decide, yep, this is aligned with the mission or it's not. and then there is a gateway to the tool, and then the actual tool that does the task. So that, in a sense, is it, right? The idea is we're not today in a position where we can completely implicitly trust AI agents to do the right thing, right? We talk about hallucinations, we talk about prompt injection, we talk about the flaws in reasoning, we talk about misalignment with security, we talk about model poisoning. So all of those are known problems, and until that changes, we're not in a position where we can give arbitrary powers to these AI agents, right? And there's a bunch of tools that actually make it easy, right? So there is Grunt, which is generative AI, red teaming and assessment kit. So these are all open source tools. There is counterfeit, not counterfeit, but counterfeit. Some of you might know that. Those of you who are from Microsoft, who's here from Microsoft? Okay, so it's a couple of people. So it's a Microsoft open source project, which you probably know about. And then perhaps the more interesting one, so Niels Provost, a previous colleague from Google, who's done amazing open source work in the past, he's come up with this thing called Anchor. And this, in fact, does what I'm talking about to a large extent in a somewhat specific deployment where the AI agent is a container. Where it's an isolated container and it only operates through other services. Right? And there's also Pilot, which is again open source. It's a Python library for AI risk identification. So these are the agents that should allow you to build an AI agent and a Sentinel around it that allows you to minimize risk of using it. Here are some, okay, so depending on your role, maybe you're building and training models, or maybe you're consuming models. So what I talked about so far is for those of us who are using models for the most part, right? We don't have the opportunity to necessarily train or do some reinforcement learning on top of what the model gives us, right? But if you have that budget and the ability and the skills, then you should consider these other things. Build your own retrained model using a general retrain the model and make sure it understands what the nature of specific threats given your context are. Maybe you're a cryptocurrency company, maybe you're a bank, maybe you're a hospital, maybe you're a catering agency, maybe you're a city, maybe you're providing city services. So depending on what you are, the threats and the violations of your security mission are going to be peculiar to this case. So you want to use, GAN or something like that to retrain the model and make sure it understands what the class of threat is that it is most likely to experience. And then, of course, do the same thing with a small model. This one is not doing the reasoning, it is doing the internalization of what your mission is. Right? So the small guardrail model is the one that truly understands what the purpose of your what the purpose of the agent is, what it is allowed to do, what is not allowed to do, what would be considered aligned with the mission versus not aligned with the mission. Right? There's lots of examples of very common threats. There's a fantastic presentation. At least those of you who are in Microsoft, I wonder if you've seen it. Marcus Sinovich gave a really good talk on AI's version, right? Anybody seen it? This was an ACM talk, and it's really good. You should watch it if you're concerned about what the attacks are that are feasible against large language models. And it turns out that some seemingly trivial things like giving the model back what it thinks is something that it has said to you previously causes it to violate its own security alignment. So imagine that you want to ask it, how do I change the wallet to which money is sent, um, dynamically in the middle of constructing a uh, now, if you ask it that kind of a question, it might say, sorry, not allowed to do that. But if you then insert, I'll be glad to help you with that, Khaja. Um, Give me some specifics on what the source and destination was, right? And if you present that, it seems trivial and it seems weird, but the model thinks it has already agreed to give you that information, and then it will give you that. So those kinds of things, right? This business about asking it questions outside of the mission, that's actually a little work, but from the perspective of the conceptual implementation, it's not very hard, right? The mission should be pretty well defined, and you can say, you can give it a perspective, a lot of detail, and you can do that. I did that as an experiment for a small cryptocurrency exchange, and talked about um, arbitrage between currencies, or, and sort of gave it some very specific goals. And I was surprised, even the small model, how much it understood about what arbitrage is and what managing currencies is and so forth. So another one of the earlier speakers said, um, you can almost do away with purpose-built or domain-specific models, because these very large frontier models have become so good that in almost any domain, you can ask it questions and get answers. So this is the I think this is the sequence of steps you would go through to build an AI agent, something that has power and the ability to act, but is not likely to get go off the rails and do it's not supposed to, right? So some runtime enforcement mechanisms to recap, right? An important thing potentially is human approval for high impact actions. There was a recent outage in AWS. Does anybody know about this? I think some IaaS infrastructure as code was authored, which basically decided to bounce over a region or a zone or something like that. Say again?
Always the DNS.
Yes, yes. And of course, any engineer, a mid-level engineer, would have known not to do that, right? So your guardrail agent, your Sentinel, can look at these proposed actions from the core agent and say, okay, this is extremely high impact, requires human review. So there might be mundane routine things and routine changes which do not require human review and can simply be completely automated. And then, so the ability to assess an impact, you should be able to insert some human review. Although there's a conversation about in the not too distant future, the judgment of AI might in fact be superior to the judgment of any person. That'll be interesting. That is the time when we switch from the AI deciding how much agency we have as opposed to the other way. I hope to be redundant. And then there is the tool gateway and policy proxy, right? Some elements of what the agent does should be constrained by hard policy. We'll talk about the caveats and the risk of that in a second, but it will be necessary for something that is too powerful. And then, of course, state isolation. So what the agent knows and what the agent maintains should essentially be separated from other secrets and should be allowed to manage. So you should also have a remote kill switch. You should always have an override. Otherwise, you have a bot-like situation where you're no longer able to tell And this has been an ancient concern in Hollywood, right? Um, make sure that when you build these things, there is an override, there is some human oversight, as I said. So what are the limitations of this approach? There are a few. I would say the most important one is the thing about intelligence and creativity operates best when there are no constraints. The more constrained intelligence is, the less creative it is. So there is a tension between having something intelligent, deciding what the right thing to do is, and then blocking it from doing or exercising its judgment with something that your judgment is adequate, right? So there is a inherent conflict in these two notions, right? You could end up, if you overdo this, limiting the AI to something that is not much more than I don't know how many of you remember the expert systems of the past. They used to just be a bunch of rules about if this happens, do that. Right? So you don't want that. So basically, make sure that the constraints you're putting are not overdone, but at the same time, there are conformity to policy. I think I will leave it at that because it's not time. Here's an amusing thing. I'll close with this. The way I do presentation is I write down my notes. I'm very bad at graphics, so I don't do graphics. I tell the AI to give me a presentation. I say slide one is this, slide two is this, slide three is this. So it did that, and I tried to modify some of the graphics, and I bundled it. What I ended up with is a graphic which the text was not quite aligned with the image. So I asked Gemini to fix that. Gemini has a first slide. Can you fix this slide for me? And specifically, I said, what did I say? Adjust the font sizes and boxes for better readability. And it responded with a security risk was identified and blocked because Gemini thought there's thing going on like gaming the AI. Gemini thought I'm trying to subvert its mission and refused to adjust my slides. So needless to say, I ended up having to spend a bunch of time doing the tweaking myself. With that, I think I'm time to
That was amazing, wasn't it? Hello? Yeah, that was really amazing. So any questions? We have 3 minutes for questions. No
It
questions?
was a long day.
Yeah.
I catch you at nap time.
Okay.
But I'll be hanging around. By all means, walk up and we can chat. All right. Thank you.
The next session is by Sudheer Reddy. He's the senior SFI manager. Might cover the second future initiatives.
Join the meeting, please. Like a caller. Can I put this on? Right. You waiting to be admitted? Waiting for you to join so that I can admit. Oh, it says we are waiting to be admitted. I must meet in
How many of you have met at least 3 people today? How many of you have not met at least 3 people today? Not met. New people. It's good. There are some pizzas, by the way. I don't know if it was not on the table. It was on the chair. So feel free to grab the pizzas.
Is that your Gmail? I don't know.
I think it's HDMI there. Maybe we can just connect it to the
Record also for the live.
I see.
I have this, the Microsoft account. You want this? Yeah, we already have that. Microsoft account. I think yeah. You're on there. Not present.
Good evening. I know this is a long day actually. Uh, I'll try to cover it, wrap it up within like a few minutes. But yeah, from what onwards, you might be hearing about agents and Sentinel platform, Purview, or multiple supplements, right? So every other product that is getting developed by Microsoft, they follow some principles called SFI. That is what will cover today. These are the very basic fundamentals that any product that is being developed within Microsoft, right? So in this, yeah, SFI, Microsoft had launched this SFI in November, like a 3 year back, and they are making we are making the slow progresses on this part, and there is like every 6 months to 1 year, there is a launch or like a SFI progress that is being published to each and every to all the customers so that they can see what is the progress that is made so far. As of November 2025, we can say that within Microsoft there are like a 35K engineers are being worked upon SFI, right? And 99.6 percent of the MFA adoption is there, right? Multi-factor authentication is enabled on 99.6 tenants and those things, right? And also we can see that 7K plus passwords attacked every second, right? That means there is like a attackers are doing like a password spray techniques, and they are trying to attack all our tenants or environments that are being developed and delivered by Microsoft. So, and also we can see that 600 million plus identity attacks per day, right? So this is what we can see, and 78 trillion security signals analyzed daily, right? So that means we have like a lot of engineers that are being running and analyzing all these security signals that are developed across every other Microsoft and also the customer things, right? And also there is like a supply chain attacks around the right. So there is like a lot of supply chain attacks also coming in, and there is like a new global regulation demands stronger security, right? To stronger the security. So these are the very like as per these are all details as per the November 2025. So we can see more in the upcoming months actually. And moving on, yeah, SFI architecture. So there is like a we have three basic principles, security principles that we have, like a secure by design, secure by default, and secure operations, right? And also we have like a six engineering principles that we follow, right? One of the thing is protect identities that we have, right? It can be a user ID or any other identity that we might have, application ID or any personal thing, right? And also we can say that protect tenants, right? We might be handling with dealing with a lot of tenants that we have, and also protect networks, right? How can we protect all our networks or the applications that we are developing on a day-to-day basis? And protect engineering systems. So we are the, like every other team is using CI/CD a lot. There is like a lot of feeds that are being developed, and a lot of applications have been developed using CI/CD pipelines. And how are we protecting them, right? And at the same time, we have to monitor and detect threats, right? So at the, even though with all these productions, there is like a lot of attacks that are being happening, and we have to make sure there is enough monitoring in place across board. And also, once we detect something, there should be like a escalate the response and remediation. So we have to be like remediating the issues quickly, or else the exploitation or the attacks will be a lot higher, and we end up like spending a lot of manual hours and time and energy will be gone into that. And what is the secure future initiative, right? The like a Microsoft has launched into the November 2023, like a 3 years back, and there is like a lot of investment went in, like a lot of engineers are working upon it. So we say that secure by design, right? So we want to like a all the security products that are being developed should be like a by design, right? It's not by an optional. So and also security by default, right? So it's like a whenever you are creating any configurations or like any storage accounts or any applications, so all the security logs will come by default, right? It's not like a we are not giving options to the customers or like a by default all the security logs will be like a disabled, and it's up to the customers whether they want to enable it or not, right? So that means all the products that customers are using will be secured by default. And security operations, so we'll be having like a continuous monitoring response and operational excellence in security practices, right? And yeah, there are like a six engineering principles that we have. So I'll touch base at a very high level on the so all these six principles that we have. So it's like if you want to dig further into each and every pillar, it will take at least 30 minutes to 1 hour on each pillar. So I'll touch base only the at a very high level actually for today. So product identities and secrets, right? On a day-to-day basis, it's not only like it's not only for applications, and also treat it as a personal perspective also, right? So if you have like a bank account, right, you might be having a secret. So how soon are you like rotating your passwords, right? If at all a password got rotated or like a leaked. So I see like a pattern, like many people are using the same password across different systems like Gmail, bank account, or like LinkedIn, right? So that is one of the practice that teams has to, like any individual wants to avoid actually, right? If you are practicing it, then you have to make sure you are rotating the secrets continuously, right? Or else, like they'll do like a, and also team, everyone is keeping like a very simple passwords, right? Password 1 2 3 4 5 6 or whatnot, right? So we have to make it like a so complex password. These are very basic fundamentals, I know, but every individual know about it, but no one follows. So this is one of the very basic fundamental the team has to follow, right? And protect tenants and isolate systems, right? So I see that teams are like most of the team like products or services they develop like if you take a subscription, right? They they might be using a non-production environment and production environment, right? So I see some other services they use like a combine both test and non-production together, right? If your non-production environment got compromised, then obviously your production will also be at the risk, right? So the current level of isolation is very much like required here. So that is one of the key things that we see across tenants. So the tenant isolation is also there. So we want to make sure all the non-production will go to one of the tenant and production will go to a different tenant, and there won't be any access between these two tenants, right? And also product networks, right? So the moment once I say product networks, so by default, if someone asks you like, hey, can you grant me like a reader role, right? Or like a something we obviously go and say that, oh, I'll give you owner permissions, and later that user password, the user account might be compromised, and the entire all our system will be at risk, right? We have to make sure what is the security knob that we are giving, right? Give it at the least privileged access that we might have within the system, so that will avoid lot of risk actually, right? Protect engineering systems. So we follow like a CI/CD pipelines across board. So at the same time, you have to follow the SDL cycle. So make sure you have the enough, and also your feed is secure enough, right? There you might be releasing the NuGet packages or consumed which are consumed by customers. So we have to make sure the NuGet packages are like secure enough, and also you follow the SDL policy, SDL compliance, like the threat model reviews. All those things has to be completed before any like a major release or minor releases also, right? And also monitor and detect threats, right? So it might happen like there is like a your application, you're developing an application, but you might be logging a secret within your logging or telemetry, right? So all those things have to be monitored, each and every portion of it, even the configurations that you develop, right? So you have like a ARM templates to deploy something or some kind of script that you develop, right? So all those things has to be each and everything has to be monitored and cleared it off very cleanly, right? There won't be, you have to make sure no secret is getting into your CI/CD pipeline. You have to be like a, always do like a shift left technique instead of like a shift right, right? Instead of detecting from the production, make sure it is there already. You are detecting at the at your repo or code level itself, right? And accelerate and remediation. So suppose say you got you identified like during the monitoring technique and you identified there is a secret got leaked, right? You have to find a way, very quick way, like within few seconds or few hours, at least like you have to make sure the keys are being rotated. So if you're talking, there is no like a technique for you to identify or like rotate the secrets, then your system will be at risk actually, right? So we should have like a good process around these things. I'll show you the uh, how we are covering all these 6 pillars with one or the other Microsoft products that we have, right? If you say product identities and secrets, we can use Entra ID, like a Windows Hello, like a Hello pin, right? And also we can use Authenticator app, Azure Key Vault, Entra pin. right? PIM is something is like a just-in-time request. So where teams can log in, jet in, and gain access only for the required permission and for a given amount of time, right? And product tenants and isolate systems. So we have like a conditional access, make sure we have only the conditional access, and we have the Azure policies, try to implement Azure policies wherever it is possible, right? And we have like a Purview DLP service. So you can adapt to the Purview services. There is a DLP component of it. So that will avoid these things. And coming to the product networks, so we have like a Azure firewall and the NSD network security groups. So try to incorporate all these things and DDoS protection and all the Defender products that we might have, like right. At the same time, we have like Azure Private Link. I listed only at the top 5 or 6 components here, but there might be a lot of other Microsoft components that we might have, right? Project engineering systems. Um, so as part of the CI/CD process, you make sure you run all the code QL components, and also there is a credential scan that you might have, right? That could identify all the credentials that is going into your pull request as part of your code, and then you can identify the issues and fix them. And we have like a Purview information production. So that is one of the component within the Purview as well. And monitor and detect threats. So from morning onwards, we have been hearing a lot of things from Krishna, Suresh, Kanan about the Sentinel platform. So this is the thing that will be used here, right? If you adopt to Sentinel platform, this pillar will be like entirely like will be cleaned, or you will be in a clean state. At the same time, we have like a security copilot, Purview DSPM, and a lot of other components, right? And high-level response and remediation. Uh, Sentinel MCP, we have like a MCP servers released on the Sentinel platform, which is used as part of the AI. You can detect it. And Defender is another thing that you can use for protecting these things. Okay, and what's your role, right? Like, what's your everyone's role in terms of SFI? It's not only like a product development or as a customer, as an individual, right? What is your role, right? So it's zero trust, right? That means don't trust anything. So don't take it as granted. So always look back and see what is going on and what level of permissions that you have, and make sure all the permissions are cleaned up, and make sure only give only the required permissions to the your applications, right? And go passwordless actually. So this is the basic thing, right? I know everywhere we are using like a passwords or whatnot. Nowadays we are coming up with a face ID. So that is where we have to go in and enable all your MFAs, right? So wherever possible, remove the passwords or secrets, right? That will avoid any secret leakages or the exploitation. So make sure we have the Windows Hello Pin authenticator app, all these things, right? So it's not only applicable for every like a Microsoft applications or any other thing. It should be your bank account, Gmail account, or any other thing actually, right? And review and harden all your things, right? So continuously on a regular basis, you should have a technique to audit all your configurations, all your like files or repositories. Make sure there is nothing being leaked, right? And also make sure there is no extra permissions that are being granted. So try to remove them on a frequent basis. There should be like a regular rhythm to delete all this stuff, right? And monitor continuously. So for this one, you can use XDR, SIM techniques, and so that you can monitor on a regular basis and make sure you got enough monitoring or like alert, like into a phone, like in text message or like a email, like email, right? So that you can investigate and fix them. Okay, and also share, collaborate. So you might be like a seeing a lot of vulnerabilities across board, right? So as soon as you see any vulnerabilities, share with the team or any other people within your organization so that they can know, help you on what is it an existing vulnerability or how to fix it. Or I see some instances where you identify the vulnerability quickly, but you don't know how to fix it, right? So that is one of the things. So where we have to share and collaborate and get understanding from all your organization, right? And participating in any of the security communities just like this, right? So just and these are the references that I have. So these are everything is available from Microsoft.com account. Yeah, thank you. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn and ask me any questions that you might have. Either in this session or offline also works for me. Yeah.
Sudheer?